What up, what up, what up? Football fans all over the world. It's your boy Mac the Giants fan here with my guy, the super dope co-host. And Costas. Y'all know what time it is, man. It's time for that real deal NFC East round. Yeah, punch that intro. Good afternoon. Welcome to another edition of the Real Deal NFC East Roundup. I am Mac the Giants fan here with my guy, the super dope co-host Adam Costas, man. How you feeling today, Adam?
Well, after that intro, I'm feeling fantastic. I mean, obviously, you're doing good because you held that last note a little longer, and that tells me how Mac is feeling today. So I'm vibing off your energy. I'm feeling good. I thought I had a health scare recently, so I went to the doctor. They said I was all right. So I'm good. Head's in the right place. So let's go.
That's right. Pray for that, man. Absolutely, man. Absolutely, man. Well, let's get right to it, man. NFC East is pretty much the season's over for pretty much the NFC East for the most part. I mean, only one team still standing. Uh, we'll talk about them in a little bit, but let's get to it, man. We wrap up week 18, talking about those couple of games we had. Commanders going out a high note, taking out the Eagles in week 18. Eagles did not really play much, didn't play anybody. And the Commanders, they went out there with their, the best guys they had. I mean, for what it was worth, obviously, they're down to their third string quarterback and Josh Johnson. But he's been a sad bet, been around for a while, and faced off against got a Josh Johnson, Tanner McKee week 18 matchup, man, in Philly, man. And they didn't end up. Eagles came up on the short end of the stick, man. Tanner McKee couldn't quite navigate them to a victory going into the postseason. Washington Commanders, whatever you want to look at it, this has been a terrible year for a team that has so much optimism coming into the year. But it's a great way for them to end their season. I guess going into the off season, a lot needs to change, obviously, but this was definitely a good win for them to finish their season off on a high note, if you want to call it that. But what's your thoughts on this football game here, man, on week 18 matchup, the Eagles and the Commanders?
Well, it was two different teams, right? The Eagle team has been consistently good for the past, I don't know, 5 years. Like they've been in the playoffs since Nick Sirianni walked through that door in 2021. They've been in the playoffs every year, and obviously have been to the big game twice out of those 4 or 5 years that he's been here. So, getting out there, getting some guys some burn, I think it was good for them. Like to me, there's always something about the last game of the year that kind of annoys me. And that is, how come one team can play their guys and the other team can't, so to speak? Why are you conceding victories, right? Isn't this the NFL? Isn't gambling on the line? Isn't so much on the line that this should be out of it? Here, if I'm Caesars Sportsbook, I am going to fight back in the next collective bargaining agreement that say everybody needs to play 18 games, 17 games, unless you're in the playoffs, right? Like there should be no lying down. Because to me, I'm a consumer. I'm paying my money. I don't get to see Dak Prescott. I can see him for a quarter. I don't get to see Jalen Hurts, for anything. Now, I understand the Eagles strategy, but what Washington had nobodies. They still played their starters. Bobby Wagner's a Hall of Famer. He played the game. Frank Louvu was a Pro Bowler. He played the game. Von Miller is going to the Hall of Fame. He played the game. So these guys aren't just playing just for the incentives, right? These guys, if you look at, and I don't mean to use Clowney, but Clowney said in his interview, you're reinvigorated. You know how many times are going to be out there, the tape that you got. If I wanted a preseason game, then throw a fourth preseason game up. I need these games to mean something all the way through. I'm a Giant fan, and I've seen so many 8-8 seasons. We played at the end. It doesn't matter, right? I don't want to hear why you don't play to the end. But now that I'm off my soapbox about this, because I do think across the league, it gets a little annoying. If you want to see players, I get it. It's a blowout. Fine. And I get you want to get reps to guys, but it takes away from the fans. It takes away from fantasy. It takes away from a lot of these things that you work for, the NFL just blows up in your face and makes you laugh, and people are tanking now. It's really going to get bad and worse and ugly if they don't clean it up. That's what I think about that. But the game in general, the Eagles needed that little warm up for their backups. I was surprised they lost to the Commanders, to be honest with you, because I thought they were that well coached that when they played us with their backups last year, they blew the Giants out, and it wasn't even really a close game. It was close because they're playing second string, but I never felt the Giants were ever in it. In this game, Washington, you listen to Hard Knocks, you watch Josh Johnson's out there fighting. He's like, yo, let's go. He's 38 years old. He's still in it to win it. So I think for them and for Washington, I know we say meaningless games. I think they needed it for the fresh air. Does it mean they're going to now be a big team next year? I don't believe that. I don't believe that at all. I don't believe any of that really translates. What I do believe is that you had a bad season. You want to win a game. You should put your best foot forward because, again, this is the NFL. It's not for long, and you don't know what game is going to springboard you to the next thing. So I was glad that the Washington took it like that. I was glad that Washington finished out strong. And that's all you want to hear is whether they win or lose, finish out strong. Play your guys. If you get beat down because they're better than you, then you get beat down because they're better than you, right? But the difference, if I'm a Washington fan, is I know my coaching staff is coming back. So I would understand if they wanted to see other players. But they were bereft of talent, so they had nobody to sit, right? And if you watch Hard Knocks, Jaden Daniels rehabbing nicely. He's rebounding. They're getting beat up. There's a lot of change going on with Washington. I think they needed this win to kind of just ease into the offseason, like, we won something finally, but will it change anything? The only thing that will change, we'll get into the changes in a minute, is their coaching staff and their philosophy. But like you said, they had high expectations. Winning their fourth or fifth game doesn't really do much for them. Let's see what they do in the draft and how they can improve this team. But Washington overall was disappointing for the Eagles. I would have started them. And for me, the reason why I would have started them, you struggled offensively for all season long. And to me, not playing a game and then going up against a team like the 49ers, which we'll preview in a moment, doesn't bode well for me. That offense not playing a week out that has struggles, they better come out guns a-blazing on Sunday afternoon. Because, again, what we do talk about, you need reps. And if you're going into the playoffs, I'd rather go in with momentum, and go in there on a high note, humming and making the NFL know, hey, we're coming to win this thing, as opposed to, well, we're going to use this as a mini bye after we struggled in Buffalo the week before to barely score 13 points in that game. And between you, me, and the Walmack, if they go into overtime, I don't know if they win that game. I don't with the way the offense is playing. And now to have a week off against an opponent that you could have built confidence in. Obviously, you got Devontae Smith to 1,000 yards and everything like that. But to me, the mindset should have been, we haven't played well enough. We need to play in this game. And if it gets out of hand, okay, then I'll pull my guys. But we need this confidence to go into the game. I thought they missed an opportunity there, the Eagles.
Well, yeah, it's funny. You just brought up a great point at the end there with the Devontae Smith thing. He played him. He got into 1,000 yards or whatever, blah, 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 blah. But that's the thing about it is, like, that's disappointing because you said a lot that I liked in there about sitting there players. In the Eagles situation, to me, this is not a team that's going into the playoffs, to me, like that's like looking like a well-oiled machine that ready. Defensively, I'll say they've been playing some really good football down the stretch here, like tremendous, you know what I mean? But offensively, this team's been a mess all season. And I feel like with the opponent you got waiting for you on Sunday, man, yeah, shit, they got to travel across country to come to your building and everything. But that's not going to phase that football team that you're playing. And I think that you should obviously know that for obvious reasons that they become kind of almost like a rivalry over the last few years, honestly, these two teams. Some couple great matchups there. But that's something else we'll talk about that maybe a little later about some of the other just good matchups this weekend. But anyway, this Philadelphia Eagle team, man, like you said, they needed to work. And if you're going to just put Devontae Smith only in there for the purpose of getting 1,000 yards, it's like, what's that? What kind of message is that even truly sending? Like, that's just ridiculous. Just stand on it. If you're not going to play your starters, you're not playing your starters. Or if you are, you are. If you're not, you're not. If you are, you are. But the fact you play this guy just for the purpose of of getting 1,000 yards on the year, like that's not to me sends a poor message. And the fact that your whole offense truly needs work, point blank and period. It just hasn't been working this season. I mean, you got a guy, Saquon Barkley, reigning offensive player of the year, who was over 2,000 yards a season ago and only needed 16 of the 17 games to get to 2,000 yards a season ago, was barely got over 1,000 this year. And this offense is completely is issues, and it needs the work, and it needed the reps. I mean, at least you should have went out there and maybe like the a la the Dallas Cowboys, at least the first half, something. Gave them some work though, man, because to me, you're not the type of offense, you haven't demonstrated to be the type of offense this season that can take a week off and think I'm just ready to go out there and play against and go play against the big bad 49ers on Sunday, a team that's coming in with a lot of momentum, even though they lost their last game, but still coming in with some momentum and just been playing really good football, and they know how to win football games. It's going to be a tough matchup for the Eagles on Sunday, and I think the offense should have really gotten some work this past Sunday because it just hasn't demonstrated. You haven't seen any consistency from that group all year, and I understand the talent that they have. I believe in the talent that they had, but it just hasn't been clicking at all this year. So unless they're going to pull a rabbit out the hat, I'm not sure what to expect on Sunday after this offense now coming in here, basically taking a week off, essentially. I mean,
so yeah, I mean, let's dive into the matchup a little bit because it's only fair since they're the only team playing, and we have a lot of other things that are going to kind of dovetail into this segment here. And there's a lot of pressure on the Eagles, okay? And for me, what you're saying to me is exactly why you should play these games, because you have an issue going into it. There was no you beat Buffalo, I get it. You beat one of the best teams in football. Okay, but look what the 49ers did. They had a chance to go to the second seed. They could have easily conceded that and said, you know what, we'll put in Mac Jones, who has played well for them, right? And just put in a lot of guys. They didn't. They played their hearts out to get that second seed, and it didn't work out, right? And now they're coming in to play you guys, and your offense hasn't done anything. And all I'm hearing from people that we're talking to is like, oh, the Eagles defense, they got this. I'm like, wait a minute, hold on. Pump the brakes real quick. The 49ers can score points on you, okay? They may not have scored points against the team they played last week. I forget, was it Seattle?
They played Seattle. Seattle has one of the best defenses in the league. That's one of the best defenses in the league.
Right. I would argue that they're better than the Eagles defense. Okay, like to me, I'm not trying to be a homer here or a fan or hate on the Eagles. I think Seattle's played slightly better than the Eagles defense. That's just my opinion. Now, what will happen, I do believe, is I don't think the Eagles defense is as stifling as Seattle. So what does that mean? Does that mean they're not going to be able to handle Brock Purdy? No. But if the 49ers can score some points and move the ball, what makes you think their defense, who doesn't need to, let's put it this way, if they can control the run game, which is hard to do because they do have weaknesses, but they won 12 games for a reason. So whether we like it or not, they find ways to win games. And all they need is a couple stops, right? If they're scoring points and a couple turnovers and you look a little rusty, and next thing you know, you're down 21-0 or 21-14, and your offense hasn't done shit, and the Eagle and the 49 defense starts to get confident, starts to get lathered up a little bit. Now that they know they don't need to worry about it, they can start bringing blitzes and doing a little bit more exotic things because they know your offense can't do anything. And the last showing that your starting offense had, you put up 13 points, got shut up in the second half of your game. And then you don't even play in this game against a lesser opponent, which could have built your confidence. Now you're going into the playoff game with immense pressure on the line, so much pressure that there are candidates out there that are possibly vying for your job if he doesn't do well, right? And we'll get into those in a minute. So to me, you play your guys because you don't have the luxury of not. I know guys, if guys are banged up, obviously sit them, right? Guys that you think could use a week to rest, the guy's got a bad ankle or something, fine. But the rest of you guys, whatever happened to the old school mentality of we're going to get this right till we get it perfect, right? Like the old school mentality of going in with a high, like I'm telling you right now, if on Sunday afternoon, 4:30, I think they play. And Sunday afternoon, Saturday,
No, they play Sunday at 4:30, like you said.
4:30 Sunday afternoon. If come the fourth quarter, they're down, and it's because their offense is sputtering, regardless of what we think the KP was as a coordinator, maybe that game ignites you, getting you the confidence. I mean, they've struggled all afternoon and all season, so I don't want to say per se, but they've struggled mightily down the stretch. In at least they've scored points in the beginning of the year. They had 27 against the Rams. They had 34 against the Giants. They were putting up against points, in the season, right? But they do have these swoons where they get shut out. And the last offensive performance, you didn't even score a point. Guess what? The competition's only going to get better. It doesn't get worse from here on out. The 49ers got here, they earned it, and they're going to come in with a chip on their shoulder to beat your ass, okay? And if your offense, who decided to take a week off, comes out rusty, you don't want that to be the reason you lose. Be the reason you lose is because they fucking outplayed you. They just outbeat you offensively. Like you say, you know what? Brock Purdy just had an amazing game. But if they beat you because their defense is dominating your stagnant offense, it's going to be bad news for you, Eagles fans. And I'm just being honest.
And I mean, look, like I said, I'll bring it up. Like I said, this team these two teams, it's been somewhat of a little bit of a rivalry. I mean, they've had a couple of, notable playoff matchups over the last several years, as both of these teams have been amongst the NFC's better teams over the last several years. And we know about the last matchup, obviously, in the NFC Championship game in Philly, where the Eagles, really just took it to the Niners in that game. And this is a lot of the same guys around, a lot of the same guys here. People don't forget, man. People don't forget. So, like I said, they coming in here bitter. They're coming in here angry. They remember the last time they traveled across that country to play the Philadelphia Eagles at the Link in a postseason matchup. Now, granted, it's not the NFC Championship game. It's Wildcard weekend this time. But this 49er team is coming fired up, ready to go, man. And another thing about the Week 18 matchups that bother me with the guys, or the amount of teams that just sit guys and this, that, and the other, because you have these divisional matchups. The league made it where Week 18 matchups are all divisional matchups. These are division rivalries. Why is it ever a time to have all your top guys on the field, your best available on the field? It's in divisional matchups, those rivalries. Keep those rivalries going. Keep them fight. To me, it's almost a cop out. Like I said, barring guys being banged up, there's to me no excuse for guys to be healthy scratches. That's just how I feel about it.
Same.
And it's just these Week 18 matchups, to me, they could be so much more epic if teams would embrace that and just come out there and play your guys, man. If it's meant for a guy to get hurt, then it's just going to happen. It just doesn't matter. It's just nothing anybody can do to prevent these things, man. And you might think they're protecting guys and saving guys, but like I said, in the case of this team, like the Eagle team, they really could have used the work. And the fact that they didn't get that is, I don't know. We'll see what we'll see on Sunday. We're all the way talking about it now. The way the matchup Sunday afternoon, 4:30, the 49ers, Eagles, man. How do you see this game playing out, Adam?
I see. I'm torn because we talk about playoffs, right? If you look at the 49ers, they're 12-5, and the Eagles are 11-6. You want to get rid of tanking. You really want to get rid of the last game of the year. How about you make records matter? How about you make the records matter? So, yes, the Eagles win the division. That's fine. But if they play the last game of the year, it's whether or not they get to play at home or not, because they'll have the tiebreaker over the 49ers. So the 49ers have to be forced to go there, right? I feel this brings us back to our playoff talk, that the NFL needs to eliminate this bullshit about, if you're a division, you get an automatic home game. Record should matter. Because to me, if I'm the 49ers and I'm looking at their record, I'm like, we're a better team than them. We need to go in there and prove that we're a better team than our division is arguably better than theirs. We have 3 teams that all could be in the Super Bowl in our division. So, and 2 of them are on the road. Okay? 2 of them are on the road and have better records than the opponents that they're playing. And so, to me, I think that we really need to, if you really want to stop the 17th game being not played, or 18th game when they add this caveat in. Say, hey, listen, you can win your division. That gives you an automatic playoff spot, right? Automatic playoff spot. But then we decide the seedings by your record. Okay, so then you should still be the 2 seed, the 3 seed, but then your record matters, and every game at this point will matter. It won't be like, hey, let me get you, unless you absolutely obliterate the competition, you go 15-1, and the next best person has 2 losses, and you already know that the best record is fine. That team has earned that right to do that. But everybody else, that's the way you do it. Because guess what? Gambling is not going to rely on you putting in your starting quarterback. They're going to go off the spreads and make these spreads, and they're going to lose a lot of money when shit happens. It hasn't happened yet, but with that being said, that's what they're going to put in place. And I think that could help this last game of the year. As for this game on Sunday, I'm going to pick the 49ers because I just feel the 49ers played a tough game against Seattle, a huge game against Seattle, a game that their team went in and went toe-to-toe with something on the line. Every game has been a playoff game for them. So to me, they're going to come in with that same intensity like, hey, man, you guys haven't played for a week. The last game you played was in Buffalo. The last game we played was on Saturday, and we played a game against arguably the team that will be representing in the Super Bowl this year if all things break Seattle's way, right? And we want to see those guys again. So I think they're going to come in with a chip on their shoulder. And I will say this right now. Eagles, there's a man out there that just lost his job that could be on your sideline if your coach chokes this game away. I'm just saying the Eagles are on watch. You don't just go in here. People aren't going to just lie down for you. I know that they cruised through the season. They went 11-6 after going 13-4 last year. But this year is a little different. They struggled offensively. Their defense has kept them in games, and that's the only way I feel like they're going to be in this game. If they get the Brock Purdy and they can corral CMC and these receivers, they'll have a chance. If not, I think the 49ers are going to run away with it.
Well, I just think that just from the fact of we're talking about when you come to the playoffs, man, being battle tested is a real thing, man. And I'm going to tell you right now, these 49ers, they're battle tested. I mean, playing that NFC West, it's far and away. Not only is this the best division in football this season, as far as just an individual season, I've never seen a division quite like this one. Let's talk about it a little bit. Let's deep dive a little bit into what I'm talking about here. The Seattle Seahawks in that NFC West division would have either won or at least been tied for first place in every other division in the NFL. The 49ers and the Rams, their records are good enough that they would have won every other division in football other than their own, the AFC East, the AFC West, and the AFC South, where Jacksonville is one game better than them in the AFC South. So the Rams and the 49ers, and pretty much in any other division, would be division champs anyway. And anywhere else you would have put them at. So like you said, records definitely need to matter, and that's the reason why, because they're almost being punished because, you know, they're in the same division with the Seattle Seahawks, who happen to win 2 more games than them, you know, but they're at 12-5, they're still amongst the league's best. Like, their record stands up. It's only those couple of teams in the whole entire league that even have a better record than them. Like you said, winning the division, that should be the bonus. Is you're guaranteed a playoff spot, no matter what. You win the division, you are in the postseason. But like you said, it should not guarantee you a home game. It's just, to me, it's bogus, and it always will be, because you got situations like this where now you got how many this weekend? It's 3 matchups, I think, this weekend.
Yeah,
three matchups this weekend where a team with a lesser record is hosting a team with a better gets a home game. And to me, it's
how the Rams going to Panthers at 8-9? Like, give me a break.
And they got to travel all the way across the country to play, like you said, an 8-9 team, a team with a losing record that just happened to win their crappy division.
They didn't win. They got in because somebody else beat another team.
Well, yeah, that too. They didn't even. Yeah, they got help from because that whole division ended up being a 3-way tie at the top. Record-wise, if I'm not mistaken. Let's check it out. Yeah, it was 3-way tie at the top, and whatever the tiebreaker scenario was there, Carolina still ended up winning the division, even though they lost that last game to the Bucks. I mean, it's a mess. I mean, and then like you said, the Eagles get hosting the 49ers, a team with a better record than them. And then where's the other one at? Pittsburgh, right? Yeah, Pittsburgh hosting Houston, right?
Yes.
Yeah, Pittsburgh hosting Houston. I mean, come on, this is not right. At what point does having a good record mean something? It
Exactly.
should. It seems like it means nothing. It just means okay, whatever. You got a good record, but you didn't win your division because your division is so good. You still didn't win your division. I mean, that's like that NFC West. Like I said, I've never seen 3 teams in a division with at least 12 wins.
Never.
3 teams in a division with at least 12 wins.
All 3 Super Bowl could be Super Bowl bound. Well, bounce here, bounce there. What are we talking about? You know?
I mean, that's crazy. And then I mean, Arizona, yeah, they were obviously the bottom feeders of that division at 3-14. But I'm gonna tell you what, that Arizona Cardinal team didn't make it easy for anybody. So you know what their record might not indicate how good what level of a team they are, but they didn't make it easy for anybody. It wasn't like they were just some walk in the park when you had to play the Cardinals this season. I mean, it just is what it is. They went out there and competed each week. What is going on in the chat to my guy? No Mets, no Nets, no Jets, man. Happy New Year to you, my guy. Happy New Year, bro.
Happy New Year, my friend.
But yeah, and because of a lot of what I just said, I just think the 49ers are coming in here far more battle tested, especially this season, and just ready and understanding the situation, man. Like you said, they played their guys last week in a game that meant a little bit for them. They could have moved up to maybe they could have got up to the no, they could. Did it mean anything to them? Really? Otherwise, they could have moved up a spot in the season. I think
Eagles.
Think they could have.
Well, think about that.
They could have moved up to the 5 spot, I think, or something like that. I think they weren't ever going to be able to catch because they weren't catching Seattle. I don't think at all for the division, regardless.
No, if they beat Seattle, they were going to the 2 seed. Oh no, they were going to the 1 seed. If they had beaten Seattle, they would have won the 1 seed.
Would they have? Oh wow, I thought they were 2 games. They're like 2 games behind.
Well, that's what they said would have happened.
Because if Seattle would have lost that game, they would have been 13-4. Okay, yeah, you're right. Okay, tripping. Okay, math wasn't my best subject. All right, I got you. I'm sorry. Apologize for the brain fart there. Okay, so yeah, okay, so they went out there and they played their guys and they went for it. It didn't work out for them. But like I said, Eagles sitting your guys. I think that's going to blow up in your face.
The Eagles could have moved up from. I think they could have moved up if they beat their team. They would have.
They could have been the 2 seed.
Yes, and
they could have got to the 2 seed.
Instead, they're the 3. Who's the 2 again?
The 2 is Chicago.
Right. So they would have moved to the 2 seed. How I don't know how they would have moved to the 2 seed when Chicago beat them. Didn't Chicago?
No, if Chicago did lose their game as well, and if the Eagles would have won, they would have been a 2 seed over Chicago because they would have had a better record. They would have had a better record.
Exactly. So, but that's what I mean. So now, were you losing because you want the matchup against the 49ers? You think it's easier? Oh, we have a better chance to beat them because, the Chicago Bears are playing. To me, I would have went against Green Bay. They have decimated with injuries. It would have been easier to beat them than it is the 49ers. The Green Bay Packers make it into it is exactly what we're talking about with record, right? They made it in. They limped into the playoffs. They got there because everybody else around them stunk, right? Because everybody outside of those top playoff teams, they're the next best team really in there, right? Of the remaining 7 teams, I think they're the 7th seed, if I'm not mistaken.
Absolutely, they are.
And they're kind of better than everybody. I mean, there's Atlanta and there's a couple other teams while you play the games, right? But they're the worst team in the playoffs record-wise. And if you're Philadelphia, you've had your way with Green Bay. So why wouldn't I want to play to win that game in case, for whatever reason, Chicago did lose, right, as they did, and go and have Green Bay, who's struggling to beat us in our building, as opposed to a team that wants a revenge tour, right? Like you said, the NFC Championship game in 2022 was played in Philadelphia with a lot of controversial calls and things like that happened in the game that got Philadelphia over the hump in there. Now you have a team that's angry, that just lost the division, that understands that they're better than you because they went up against the best team and the number 1 seeds in their division. And they went toe to toe with Seattle. It was a game throughout most of it, play here, play there, and the 49ers are back in the game. They missed a field goal, and I think they had an opportunity in the red zone a couple times to kind of put this game out there. And obviously opportunity knocks only once, but they were able to still hang and corral that potent offense of Seattle, right? With Sam Darnold, Jackson Smith-Njigba, Kenny Walker, they couldn't really handle the run games. They gave up 97 yards, but if you look at that game, they did enough to corral that team where it was an offensive explosion. They're going to come in here knowing that your offense has struggled, knowing that your offense hasn't played for 2 weeks, and think that they have a chance to beat you. Because record does matter to me. If I'm Kyle Shanahan, I'm like, we're better than this team. We're 12-5. They lost to the Washington. They haven't played in 2 weeks. We went toe-to-toe with arguably the best team in football and damn near took them 60 minutes. You better come in here and kick their damn ass. That's how I would motivate this team, because that's how I'm looking at it. And Philadelphia hasn't shown to me right now. There's a little turmoil in there. There's pressure on them. And like we said, there's this guy that we're going to talk about in a few minutes that's hanging over a lot of these teams that are waiting for this weekend, and you don't want to – this could be a big shakeup. If the Eagles – I feel there's more pressure on the Eagles than there is the 49ers. 49ers, they are decimated with injuries. They have excuse to lose a game like this on Sunday. They don't have Fred Warner. They don't have Nick Bosa. They don't have, their starting receiver, Brandon Ayuk. They have plenty of reasons to lose that game, which is amazing why they're 12-5. But they have plenty of excuses to go back in next offseason and say, with a healthy squad, we're going to win. Eagles, you have no excuses. You're the reigning defending champions, and all season long, you lost more games. The last time you lost 6 games, you lost to Tampa Bay in the playoffs. Okay? You lost to Tampa Bay. You were 11-6 in 2023, and you lost. And you limped in with the same kind of offense you had now, right? And I know Barkley is out there and everything like that, but if they let their guard down, there's a fumble, or they're not quite focused, or whatever happens with this aggressive 49er team, they will be sent packing.
Yeah, I agree. That's just where I'm kind of at with it right now. As of right now, I know the Eagles are going to this game as the odds on. They're the favorite. I mean, they're favored, I guess, because they're at home. I guess they're giving them that respect at home, the fact that making them the favorite here. But I just don't see it. I think the 49ers are just a more confident football team right now. I think they're playing way better football, way cleaner football. And you said it, even with all the injuries, the fact that they were able to overcome all of that. I mean, even with all the other injuries you talked about, also Brock Purdy, most of the season, being down too as well. I mean, it just, and being able to continue to navigate that ship and continue, that goes to is everything that we're looking for in the next New York Giant head coach. And that's just a great coach, somebody that can continue to navigate the ship no matter what obstacles are thrown his way. And Kyle Shanahan has done a tremendous job with that 49er team this year. And I'd be stunned, man, if he wasn't a strong candidate for Coach of the Year, man. Because he's done a tremendous job with that football team, with all he's had to go through, and still be able to overcome it and come in here to the postseason right now, sporting a 12-5 record. It's just really impressive stuff. So I like the 49ers on Sunday right now as things stand. I just can't see the Eagles taking care of business, man. It just gives me the vibes of the 2023 season all over again. Just that same kind of issues, like a team that's just not really playing up to their full potential. Did you go into the postseason and then boom, it's gonna have that collapse, man. So I'm taking the Niners here on Sunday, man. But if we got anything else on the Eagles, Adam, we can get ready to move forward in the show, because we got a lot more to talk about, brother.
Nope. We covered everything that we need to cover. Playoff game covered. Check. Let's get into what's happening the rest of the NFC.
Well, that's right. There was a game on Sunday afternoon as well. Giants and the Cowboys game didn't mean a whole lot, obviously, but at first I was a little upset, just in my bag, because the Giants going out there winning a meaningless game like they always tend to do over the course of the last couple of years, that affects their draft status. But a couple of days to calm down, a couple of people that's really made me open my eyes and realize that this win wasn't really all that bad, man. It's not that bad. I'm over it. Still a top 5 pick, and you know what? This team does indeed know how to need to learn how to start winning football games, and laying down against the Cowboys is something I'm not really ever interested in doing anyway. So, Adam, what's your thoughts on what we saw, what we got on Sunday, man?
I was like you. This team never does anything that you want them to do right. I understand they want to win. I get it. But like draft status for the next coach, having the second pick because this team needs draft picks would have been a little bit more ideal. But they ended up winning to the Cowboys, who lied down to the Giants. They had no problem lying down to the Giants. They had no problem saying, all right, you want to win this and hurting their hurting the Giants, knowing they're hurting the Giants' draft stock and kind of helping theirs, right? In the same regard. So I look at it like this. Why do the Cowboys get to do half-ass, stuff, but we don't? I mean, Jackson Dart's still in the game with 2 minutes to go in the game. It's a blowout. I don't agree with that. I probably would have put in some other guys on there. Why isn't Turbo Miller up? I could have seen him. Like, I would have utilized this game, and this is why. I look at the Dallas Cowboys and I say that's a team that knows they're coming back next season. I still would have played all your guys because to me, if I'm Dak Prescott, I want the passing record. Like, that's something I want. It's a feather in your cap, right? Somebody told me that once where I was on a space. I think it was last week, and the gentleman was on the space with me. He's like, well, if Brian Schottenheimer ever gets fired, that 7-9 and 1 record is always going to be on his resume as a losing season, right? Or 7-8 or 7-8-1 or 7-9, whatever the record was, right? So to me, I thought that's motivation there as a coach. You want to finish out strong. You want to go into the season with a high note, right? And then I look over at the Giants, and they're just desperate. The guy is the interim coach, he can't say, oh, let me go play this player or that player, because he has no choice, right? They have to win the game because he is an interim coach. He's fighting for his job. And the Cowboys clearly lied down in the second half. And they were, they had guys in there that didn't want to tackle, except for Jadeveon Clowney, who played his ass off. Like, you got to give that guy credit. 3 sacks, caused havoc. He played his ass off. They were in the game for most of the game. Like, even though the second half, the Cowboys kind of mailed it in, it was 24-17 at one point, in the game, with the game hanging in the balance. A play here and there, a play here, a play there. And remember, the Cowboys always seem to put the Giants in favorable position. There's a time where they could have went up and made a tackle, and they either missed the tackle or had a fucking penalty that cost them more points. And I thought, if this were a regular game, I don't know if the Giants would have won. So I guess I was after a little bit, I don't really care that they won. At the end of the day, they're going to play. To me, another reason why I don't want them to win is because I don't want them to run it back with Mike Kafka. Like, oh, look, we beat the Raiders. We beat the Cowboys. Oh, hey, woo, we're going to bring back Mike Kafka. Yay. Right? I didn't want that to happen, so I need misery to happen. Thankfully, we don't need a quarterback. So I know the record doesn't really matter. But, again, you want to position yourself with another quarterback like Ty Simpson coming out. Quarterback need a team that might want to move up to get that player. You're in a better position at 2 to move in and up and down. Even if there's a guy like maybe a Caleb Downs or another lineman, you want to be able to maneuver up and down the draft where the blue chippers are, and that people want those blue chippers. And I thought with this Giants and new regime, you got to finagle your way to go with draft picks because, let's be honest, this roster is going to get gutted. Whether we like it or not, this roster is going to get gutted. And good for them to win the game. I was more happy for Dart, mostly, because I wanted to see the progression. But with this being said, I want to put this caveat down there. I love what Dart does, but he's got to work on his in-pocket passing. That's the one thing I think he needs to work on. He's doing it in practice because you see Hard Knocks. They have a pocket. He's doing it. But in the games, he's relying on a lot of unorthodox throws. And the one thing that he needs to get better at is his fundamentals and cleaning up, because there was some throws where he underthrew guys and he overthrew guys because his feet weren't quite set. And it kind of hurt some of the throws downfield. But he made some good plays. He stood in there on one play, the play to Tracy in the end zone for a touchdown. Thought that was a great play. A guy bearing down on him. So, it was fun to watch. But, again, I have mixed reviews because I had lack of optimism. But guess what? I have optimism now. And what's up, Lud? How are you? We're just a segment into. So, yeah, I mean, nothing really on the game. I thought it was a glorified preseason game. The Giants needed it more than the Cowboys. Obviously, they showed that to you. And we'll see where this carries them. Does this mean they're going to all of a sudden be a good team next year? Not really. because the coaching staff that was here that wanted to win is definitely not going to be here next year, and that's a fact. So it was good to get on a high note for some of the young guys in the back, and we'll see with Joe Shea and what's going to happen.
Yeah, that was definitely. I'm pretty much right there with you. Everything you said there, I'm in agreement with you. It's it's funny too because a friend of mine, he's actually a Cowboys friend. That's a buddy of mine. Was at the game on Sunday, and that's exactly what he said. That's exactly what he called the game. He said it was like being at a preseason game. Exactly his exact words. So it's funny how y'all both saw that the exact same way. I mean, and that's what it was. I mean, it just wasn't really much to get excited about. I mean, Jackson Dart definitely did some things that impressed me. I mean, that touchdown pass to Bellinger, those are the kind of off script things that we haven't seen here in New York, man. Period. I mean, those are the kind of things like those. Like I said earlier, I said on the Aftermath show, I was like that play right there was like some Patrick Mahomes type stuff, and I'm not comparing Jackson Dart to Patrick Mahomes by no means. I'm just saying that was just kind of what that play reminded me of. That kind of off script throw, that sidearm, underhand sidearm throw to Bellinger, just like when everything was closing in, still keeping the play alive and being able to make that throw and make it happen. So it's that was mostly what it was all about. And like you said, down the stretch, you would like to see maybe Dart get pulled out of that game once the Giants had things in hand. No need to be out there and possibly take some unnecessary hit. But we don't know, man. We'll have to see. But it was, we got the win. And like I said, my eyes were open. I felt, like I said, initially, I might have been a little bummed out about it. But the reality is, when you got a young team like this, winning, they do need to understand what winning is all about, how to finish out games. And that was something they were actually able to do on Sunday, because that was the kind of game on Sunday, when you looked at it going into the fourth quarter of that football game, you got those bad vibes again. Like, we've been here too many times this season. You know what I mean? And we've seen this story before. But this time they were able to actually hang on to a lead in the fourth quarter, get the job done, get the W, man. And just give them credit. Like you said, Tracy with a great effort in that game. First running back this year for the Giants, over 100 yards in a single game, even though Cam Scatterboo got robbed of that in the first Eagles matchup when he only needed 2 more yards. Could have just gave him the ball one more time, let him get that. But whatever. That's neither here nor there. And so, couple of guys playing well. Like you said, Turbo Miller, he was out there on the sideline in street clothes. I just don't understand it. I mean, it's the last game of the season. You're going to see what a guy can do, man. You never know. But that's where we're at now. I mean, we're on to bigger and better things as the off-season process is underway. And we about to dig into that, because there ain't really much to talk about this football game, other than, like you said, Jadeveon Clowney for the Cowboys definitely looks like he wants to be back in a Cowboy uniform in next season. I mean, 3 sacks on the day, 4 tackles for losses. He recovered a fumble, if I'm not mistaken. Jadeveon Clowney was all over the place, man. That was one hell of a performance by him. So I will say that's one thing. Positive note for the Dallas Cowboys. That's all I really got on them. And like I said, the Giants, there's more things to talk about with the New York Giants. We're about to dig into that, as well as some of the other the Cowboys Commanders, some coaching situations going on here. But what's going on, Andrew McDonald, long-time listener, first-time caller, Harbaugh or McCarthy as the next HC head coach for the New York Giants? I'll take your answer off the air. Wow, I like that.
That's my man, Andrew. He's a good friend of mine. He's coaching Mike Francesa there. If you guys are from New York, when you call in, they always just say long-time listener, first-time caller. Yeah. And, Harbaugh and McCarthy, we'll get into that right now. But I do want to say one thing about the game real quick before we move into the offseason stuff. The game against the Cowboys, I saw Gunnar Olszewski go for 100 yards, right? What does that mean? Do I need to sign Wan'Dale Robinson? I don't know if that guy can produce that way. But people are going to tell me, well, he only played against backups. Well, you can only produce what you produce, right? So my point is when we look at this game, if we're going to look at the game in a whole, do we actually get true evaluations beating the Cowboys for teams that didn't play? Because Illuminor got beat like a drum, and then they brought out some of their other guys. So when you overall look at it, right, I'm happy for some guys, but it also showed me that I don't need to pay Wandale Robinson no money because Gunnar Olszewski got me a hundred spot on that play. So
you know I'm going to get some pushback on this, Adam. But I'm finished up. Finish your point. Now I'm going to give you pushback on it. Finish your point, though.
But what I'm saying is, can you really? At the end of the day, it doesn't really matter that we beat the Cowboys because they weren't even full strength. Like I know that we're talking about, oh, it's a great win. Like I can't take anything out of it because I don't know if the Cowboys would have beaten us if they played their guys full strength, right? So it just was a glorified preseason game, and a lot of guys got burned. But like I said, Gunnar Olszewski with 102 yards. I don't think I want to sign Wandale, man. If I can get that guy for cheap, get me 100 yards a game.
Nah, because I don't. You're not going to. That's not what you're going to get from Gunnar. And I love Gunnar, and I want him absolutely in a New York Giant uniform next season. But I want Wandale Robinson too at the right price. I don't want. Like I said, I'm not talking about breaking the bank and going crazy with Wandale. I mean, he's got the money's got to work out right. You know what I mean? But at the same time, he's a better receiver overall as far as the wide receiver. He's a better than Gunnar. I mean, come on, he brings more to the table at the position than Gunnar does overall. Now
I don't know because I mean I don't know. I can't say yes or no to that. I really can't, to be honest with you.
The reason I'm saying yes to it is because Wandale Robinson is now 1,000-yard wide receiver in the NFL. He is a 90+ catch receiver for the last 2 years consecutively. I don't think Gunnar Olszewski brings that to the table. What I do think Gunnar brings to the table, however, is a guy that should have played more on the offense, and that's shame on the New York Giant coaching staff because you're looking at this guy in practice every day, and you kind of should have an idea of what you got. And the fact that you're ignoring that and still force-feeding the guys that are unproductive out on the field is problematic. Now, I think what a Gunnar Olszewski kind of role could be for the New York Giants offense is you take the Dallas Cowboys and look at them, our counterparts there, and look at a guy like Kevontae Turpin that they use. He's not George Pickens or CeeDee Lamb, obviously, for them, but he's a guy you can package in and he can make some explosive plays for you every once in a while. He can be that guy on third down, that crafty guy on third down that gets you that key first down, making a clutch reception. I think Gunnar is that kind of guy. So I don't want to put more on Gunnar than I think we should, and that's why I would like in an ideal world to be able to have Wandale Robinson still back here, as well as a guy like Gunnar still doing what he does for us on special teams and getting him a little bit of work on the offense here and there, because this guy is just like he's a football player. He's the kind of guy where he might not be the biggest, the tallest, the fastest, the this or the most skilled, but he's determined to be successful. And when he's out there on the field, he's going to give you everything he's got. And it's usually going to result in good things, which he's proven with his limited opportunities.
Well, look, fine. You want to get Wandale? I'm not paying him money. He's going to want to. He's going to be paid. He's going to want to be paid like the guy out of Buffalo, wherever he got paid. I'm not paying him that. I know his production is going to go down because the Giants are going to be investing in receivers this year. Okay, because Malik Neighbors' knee is worse off than it was. It's January and he still has a cane and still in a brace. Okay, so they're going to be drafting a receiver and probably signing one. And I would kick fucking Darius Slayton to the curb because that guy's a bum as well. What I'm saying to you is this: I don't believe Wandale Robinson is going to get 1,000 yards. I think he got 1,000 yards because there was no one else on the field to be with him to be at 1,000 yards, right? He had Darius Slayton who did nothing. He had Isaiah Hodgins who did nothing, and he had a Gunnar Olszewski who never got burned. Right, so he was the only guy out there, and he showed up in certain games, and he didn't show up in others. So I can't. I'm happy that he destroyed the Raiders. You and I could have got 100 yards against the Raiders. That's how bad that team is, right? But when I need you against big teams, that's when we'll find out about him and what he can do. And for me, he's going to command too much money for me to be like, yeah, I'm going to pay you money when I can go draft a couple receivers in this draft class and go get a couple guys cheap. And if I can bring back Gunnar to do some of the things that Wandale does, then yes, I'm going to do that, right? Because, if he can be productive, because let's be honest, if I get a tight end in here, like an Isaiah Likely or David Njoku, hint, hint, wink, wink, or I bring in another receiver who comes in here like Alec Pierce and I draft one, where am I going to give him the ball? Now, Wandale Robinson, because now he becomes a bit player in a bigger scheme. And if we get certain coaches in here, they don't necessarily use those type of receivers in the game outside of maybe Hollywood Brown, right? So we'll get into the coaching and we'll see, because the personnel is really going to dictate how this team is built. But I just want to bring that up because, a lot of people like Wandale. I think he's a solid team, but I'm not, he did destroy the Cowboys, which that's not that great. And he destroyed the Lions, which they didn't even have their starting DBs back. When we played the Eagles, he wasn't that great. When we played the teams that we need him to play, he wasn't there.
He was pretty damn good against the Eagles in that primetime matchup in which we won. He had a pretty damn good night in that game, Adam.
I don't know, man. I see
he had a pretty good game against the Eagles in the first matchup. Yeah, absolutely did.
I look at it like this. I'm not going to spend money if I can get Carnell Tate in the draft. Like, if I can know that I'm going to be in a position to draft that guy or Jordan Tyson, I'm not spending $15 million a year on that Smurf.
See, this is the comment. This is right here. This comment right here is where I'm at. I agree 1,000% with this comment. This is what I mean about Wandale. He performed when he was the main focus of the receiving corps. Don't overpay him, but of course, don't dismiss him. That's what I mean. I feel like you're being dismissive of him, and I think when you take a guy like Wandale, and I could be if you're not, I don't want to put words into your mouth, but I'm just saying it just seems like you're being a little more dismissive of him. Whereas a guy like him, he has genuinely gotten better every year of his career. He's risen up and gotten better. I mean, last year he had about the same amount of catches as he has this season, with about how many like 200 or so less yards, 200, 300 less yards almost. So that's improvement. That shows a sign of improvement, man. And I understand the situation was a little.
But why didn't he have as many yards last year?
Because they were throwing him 2-yard checkdowns every damn.
Who else was out on the field with him? Malik Neighbors had 1,500 yards that year. So what I'm saying is, I'm glad that he had 1,000 yards, all right, and he performed here and there, and maybe I am overlooking him because I have a high standard. Maybe I'm putting too high of a standard on him. When I look at the overall picture, is if we get Neighbors back, we draft like a Carnell Tate, we get a tight end that can actually do something, and he's there. He's not going to be option number 3 if I get Isaiah Likely here. He's going to be option 4. And do I want to pay a guy $15 million a year? Because you look at it like this. You're saying, 1,000 yards. He ain't going to take no hometown discount. He's not going to do that.
No, I don't expect him to do that. I don't expect him to either. But I'm just saying
So with that being said, I'm not paying him that much money for a guy that I think's targets are going to go down. I think's yards are going to go down because I'm going to have these other weapons who I'm going to bring in, right? The Giants had Wandale Robinson as their best receiver, and at best on most teams, he's a third receiver on most NFL teams at best. He's not going to be a number 1. He probably wouldn't have gotten 1,000 yards anywhere else. On the Eagles, that guy's probably not doing much, right? But because they have Dallas Goedert, they have Barkley, they have A.J. Brown, they have Devontae Smith. Well, if the Giants have Carnell Tate, Malik Neighbors, and let's just say Kyle Pitts, and then they draft a running back as well, where am I getting the production to feed this guy? And I'm just saying, I understand where you guys are coming from, but I'm just looking at it like this. I know I can get that production from somebody else in the draft for cheaper, that I don't need to worry about signing. If Wandale Robinson walks, I'm not like, oh my God, the Giants offense is crippled.
It could work the other way around too, though, Adam. From that standpoint, we're having those couple of guys like that on the field that attract a little attention from defensive coordinators and defenses. Period, could open up things even that much more for a guy like Wandale Robinson when he's on the field, because he's had the experience that he has and playing against top level defensive backs throughout his career. I mean, that's just what it is. I mean, like I said, this year they opened up the offense more with him. He a lot more down the field stuff. We never saw so much down the field stuff with Wandale Robinson before as we did this season. I mean, things were different this year. The offense was different completely. So look, I understand what you're saying to an extent, because Wandale is what Wandale is, but I think he's a guy that can still add value to this football team. And if as long as his asking price isn't too much, I'd love a guy like that to be still here, a part of what's going on, man. I mean, he's not great, but he's not bad. He's not a bad receiver. He's still good. I'd say he's good for what he is. And I think that he's a guy that I think you can work with and can be part of the unit. That's all.
That being said, we'll let the coach who everyone tuned in to listen about the coaches and not the damn Wandale Robinson argument. So we'll let the coach decide that. With that being said, Mac, I think you know where we're headed now. Let's
talk about it.
It up.
Yeah, let's talk about the coaches, man. New York Giants, man. Right now, the New York, well, as fans, this is an exciting time for the New York Giants right now because the coaching, this coaching thing right now is already off to a very fast start. Absolutely top tier candidates out there, man. Some of the cream of the crop right now, man. Right now, lined up, looking for opportunities, man, to potentially be the next New York Giant head coach. Interviews already scheduled with Kevin Stefanski, with John Harbaugh, with Mike McCarthy. I mean, just the fact that they're already getting those level of coaches already set up for interviews coming in, man. That's already a great thing. I mean, I don't think that doesn't say much good for Mike Kafka having any potential retaining this job. I can't imagine you interview any of those three guys that I just mentioned and actually hire Mike Kafka over them. That would be mind blowing if that would have happened. But right now, it's been a lot going on with this coaching thing. And Adam, man, I know you're excited about it. What's your thoughts on these guys we got right? Oh, so far, what we already got, and there's still not even all of them. That's not even everybody.
Right,
we still got other options out there too, man. There's still more options out there, but let's talk about the guys we know right now.
There's a lot of guys that are going to interview. Cliff Kingsbury's one, Mike McCarthy, Harbaugh, Stefanski. But let's get to Kafka first. If the Giants were to end up with Kafka with this coaching tree, I would go to 1925 Drive and kick every person in the balls because there are other guys who are coordinators who have done better and had better units like Ashulas, Halfleys, and Kubiaks of the world, who, by the way, Clint Kubiak, I think, is getting an interview with the Giants, who I would be more apt to getting even over Kafka because their units have done well, right? Kafka his offense hasn't been good. If you want to put him in the offensive coordinator, whether we like it or not, nothing has grown with him. Right. So while I admire that he got a chance, I'm so glad that he's not going to be here because when you've got a guy, first off, the guy that I thought the Giants were going to get in line to get was Kevin Stefanski. Now, I'm going to go over him because I liked him at first. And we'll obviously talk about the elephant in the room, the biggest coach domino in a minute. But let's get to Stefanski. I liked Stefanski for what he brought, and one of the caveats was if he brought Jim Schwartz. Now, he doesn't need to bring Jim Schwartz anymore because there's Gannon and Raheem Morris out there as well. So I like him for offense, and if you're doing an offensive coach and you want to develop a quarterback, he might be a guy you want to bring in because he's going to develop a young quarterback such as a Jackson Dart. And if I can get Schwartz in return to figure out this defense, then that's something that also entices me with a guy like Stefanski, right? And what he brings. Now, his tenure in Cleveland, I think, is better. And I think a lot of people are referring him back to Pat Shurmur because when Pat Shurmur came in, he came from the Browns and he had a shitty record there. He won 10 games in 2 years. This guy went to the playoffs twice and won a playoff game with this. And he's played arguably the best division in football and been able to keep up with some of these teams in that division. So, and his first 4 years were good. And he somehow, with all the injuries on offense and young quarterbacks developing, still won 5 games and his team was playing hard. He was my lead number one candidate going in. My other guy that I loved was Cliff Kingsbury. I thought he did a lot. Unexpectedly, unceremoniously, he got cut from Washington, so I'm sure he'll be in the head coaching mix. He's a guy that I would also look at if the Giants want to develop a quarterback. It's really about Jackson Dart, but obviously, like Lud said, Harbaugh. Of course, we all want Harbaugh. He would bring stability to this organization. The one thing that let me go over the negatives with Harbaugh because we all know the positives. Some of the negative things are what defensive coordinator he's going to align himself with. Like Stefanski, there are guys like Raheem Morris, Gannon out there that I would be, maybe even Wink Martindale, but they unceremoniously did not see eye to eye, and he got let go. Because what's funny is, remember they fired Wink Martindale for the bad defense, and they brought in Mike Minter and all that, and Mike Minter goes on to be the coach for Seattle and all that shit. But they cut him, and he didn't stand on 10 toes like he did with Orr and Monken, he stand on toes and said, I'm not firing these guys. And the owner said, fine, my quarterback needs to be happy. I'm letting you go. Get out of here. So now, do I want his defensive coordinator? No, I don't want. If he comes into the room and goes, well, I'm going to bring over, or I'd probably tell him, I don't want that guy here. Look at Raheem Morris. Look again. And if he tells me, no, I'm going to bring that guy, I'm going to have to ask, questions, and I'm going to want to interview that defensive coordinator because he was not that great last year. Raven fans can tell you this defense is pretty simple. They had a solid defense, but it wasn't the defense of yesteryear. So that would be my one concern. The other one is his age, right? I don't want a guy to come in here and not be able to run my franchise for, I'm not trying to be with a guy like John Harbaugh. I'm trying to win, right? I'm trying to be in this mix, but I don't want to be in this mix for one season. I need you to be here for 18 years. That's my goal, is for you to be the next 18 years. That's obviously, but with his age, damn near impossible. He can't coach till he's 80. There's no Marv Levy's walking around here, right? So that would also be something I want to look at as well. And the last couple things would be power and also his salary, right? He was getting paid $17 million a year. The Giants don't like to pay their coaches a lot of money. They're going to have to pony up here and give out a lot of money for a guy. You want to have him here for a long time. If I'm going to pay you $17 million, I expect you, with the reputation that John Harbaugh has, you could argue that he's better than McCarthy and what he's done over the years. They're arguably kind of similar resume, both won Super Bowls. The only difference is he's stayed with one team and McCarthy's been with two. But they both have Super Bowls on their records and taken teams to the top seed. So they both kind of work here. And the safer pick for the Giants before Harbaugh was McCarthy. But that's what I want. The other thing is he doesn't specialize in anything except for special teams. So I can't say that he's developed Lamar Jackson. Lamar Jackson's a phenomenal talent on his own. So that would be another thing. You're right. He does look like a granddad, but that's what Cleveland does too. But I would want to know who he's going to bring in because right now the rumor is he's not bringing in Todd Monken. Okay. And if I'm not getting Todd Monken in here who has an identity, who is he going to bring in? I'm sure he can pull from many different places, but those are some of the concerns I have with a guy like Harbaugh. And you got to also look at this, right? 18 years with the team. I understand that things run their course. But there are 9 other teams that want him. And will the Giants relent power? And what I mean by that is this. If Harbaugh comes in here and says, I'll take your job, let's say he does want the job, right? The Giants love everything about him. And for all rumors, intents and purposes, he's their guy right now, for now. If he goes into the Giants and says, I want such and such to be my GM, will they have the gravitas to fire Joe Schoen? And my answer right now is unequivocally no. I think they like Joe Schoen, and they're going to ask Harbaugh to work with him. So then what does that working dynamic look like? Because that guy is going to want a little power. He had a little power in Baltimore in terms of personnel. He's not going to want a meddling owner or a meddling GM or anything like that. And he's going to want a guy that understands his philosophy and the kind of players he wants, right? So is that going to be a caveat? With a guy like Stefanski, who, by the way, Joe Schoen has advocated for and Jackson Dart has advocated for, right? Obviously, before Harbaugh comes out, what are you going to concede? Because Atlanta can give up the moon for Harbaugh. McDaniel is not safe. Fucking Stephen Ross went behind his back and got the temperature of the room for John Harbaugh, right? There's teams in the playoffs like Buffalo and possibly Philadelphia who also have inquired about, who also have inquired about John Harbaugh, right? So if that's the case, is he going to use the Giants for a leverage play? Is he really going to? Because if I'm Atlanta, you could be the GM too, John. Whatever you need, I'm going to open the purse strings and I'm going to let you in. I don't think he's going to go to Arizona, but I do believe a team like Atlanta is on the field. I do believe if Buffalo were to get rid of Sean McDermott, that'd be a spot to go to. And I do believe the Eagles would be interested as well to bring him in, right? So for me, and if the Eagles say to them, you know what? We'll give you power or whatever the case may be. Like, he's 63 years old. Do I want to rebuild a franchise from the ground up? By the time they get good, he's going to be 70, right? I mean, the Giants may be good out the gate, right? But let's be honest. Older coaches can remain there for a while, but after a while, you get older and older. And why do people get young coaches? Because these young guys can relate to what the game is now and blah, blah, blah. Why is he getting kicked out of Baltimore? Because his quarterback and him don't see eye to eye and things like that. So there are things that, while I love Harbaugh and I'm just only playing devil's advocate, everybody knows the reasons why he lost Zach Bond. What?
I don't know what he meant. I don't know. I'm trying to see what he was talking about too. I didn't hear anything about that.
But anyways, my point is let's take that what you said. If they're not dramatically improving, why would a guy like Harbaugh come here? Because let's be honest. Let's be really fucking honest. The Giants are going to gut this team. They don't have much money, so they're going to get rid of guys, regardless of who like them, right? Guys are going to be traded. Guys like Kayvon maybe on the trading block. Guys like Darius Slayton need to be shipped off, and of course they're going to have to cut guys like Devin Singletary and Gano and things like that, right? So this team is going to be young and have a young nucleus. They don't have that many draft picks either, right? So you're going to have to hit on your first round pick. You're going to have to hit on this. What John Harbaugh does bring to you is identity. Right, you're going to be a downhill team and running, but at the same time, if we believe, and I can't say that John Harbaugh is going to immediately make us a playoff team because of the talent that I see on the roster. If you evaluate this team going forward, will he have enough time at 63 to be able to be patient enough at maybe 69, to be, or 68 in 4 years to be able to build a winner in this team, which, by the way, the NFC has Seattle that's building, that the Rams are going to still be a hot commodity, because Sean McVay's not going there. Chicago seems to be emerging. Green Bay is going to try to flip the script. So, for all intents and purposes, those are the only factors I have for Harbaugh that I would say. Other than that, I think he brings intensity. He brings identity. He brings instant respect to the Giants sidelines, and they're not a laughingstock. But like I said, I don't need him to win me a Super Bowl now. I need him to be here a long time to make me a perennial contender. And if his age or like that is going to prevent him here, you look at Shanahan. I want Shanahan. I want a guy I want a Tomlin. I want a guy that starts out like a McVay, that starts out at 38, and it is here into his mid-50s, right? As much as I love Harbaugh. So those are just some of the things I'm bringing up. That's all.
Well, look, you said a whole lot, and a lot of it makes sense. A whole lot of sense, bro, to me. That's my biggest fear of a John Harbaugh is the age thing, obviously. I mean, at 63, how much more does he have left? How much longer is he trying to do this for? That's literally the only thing now. That's the only thing that's got me kind of thinking, do we really want to bring in John Harbaugh? Is that age thing? But other than that, man, bring him in, all in. I feel like he comes in Friday. As far as I'm concerned, don't let him get the fuck out of town, man. Because you said something else during when you were speaking about John Harbaugh and his pedigree, and the fact that when he was hired by Baltimore as their head coach 18 years ago, he was a special teams coordinator. And the fact that he was able to go into that team in Baltimore and do what he's done and have the success that he's had, it lets you know exactly the kind of coach you're dealing with. This man knows how to put together a staff because, like you said, he's not an offensive specialist. He's not a defensive specialist. He was a special teams coordinator that got a head coach opportunity, and he made the absolute most of it. This guy knows how to run an organization. He knows how to run a team. And that's what the New York Giants have been lacking. Yeah, bring Brian Dable in, this offensive guy, this quarterback whisperer. Yeah, bring in Pat. You had Pat Shermer there, all the same shit, all these little specialists. These guys are so great. They're going to be so great for our quarterback. What John Harbaugh is going to bring to the table is the ability to assemble a good coaching staff that's going to get this team coached up, man. There's pieces on this team. There's some legitimate pieces on this team, and I think you get a guy with the right coaches in here to really be able to coach these youngsters up, man. I think the New York Giants could be really cooking, man, with a coach like John Harbaugh. Instant credibility. Like I said, it does scare me a little bit about the age thing. but 63 is old, but it ain't ancient. It ain't quite ancient yet. You know what I mean? So you can still get some good quality years out of him. And the same, look at a Mike McCarthy the same way. I mean, he's a year younger, 62, but at the end of the day, you can look at them both in the same way. The age is a little bit, not necessarily. Teams tend to go a little younger in this day and era, which does make Stefanski also look a little bit, a little more inviting from that standpoint. But at the same time, I mean, you're looking at great options here, and this is, like I said, just the beginning of this search. I mean, it's not like we're going to make a decision to hire anybody, at the end of this week, by week's end. You know what I mean? Unless somebody just goes in there and really blows the doors off of their interview. But at the end of the day, that's not going to happen. There's so much more people to even still look into and dive into, and the fact that this is just the beginning of the search, I think that's just really good things for the New York Giants. It says a lot of great things. It says that the New York Giants apparently do still have a little bit of respect around the league more than what it would appear. I mean, because clearly people are lining up for this job right now. And I also think Jackson Dart has a lot to do with that as well, having that quarterback in place, especially with the older coaches like the Harbaughs or the McCarthy. I don't think they want to necessarily come here with a guy that may be a guy they don't feel they can work with at the quarterback position. So I believe that having Dart is also going to aid this and getting the guy in here, with some, like I said, legitimate credibility, man. And that's why Harbaugh is my top guy. And I'm not going to let the age scare me right now off of that, because I just think when you look at the list of candidates right now, it's a reason why he was fired yesterday, and like not even a half hour later, pretty much you got an alert to my phone where every team that had a coaching vacancy is interested in John Harbaugh. That's not by accident. There's a reason for that. So I believe that we're going to see. I just think that John Harbaugh is the top guy. He's my top guy personally now. I mean, with him coming available, that's called, to me, that's a game changer for me as far as I'm concerned. And I'm very excited to see John Harbaugh if we were able to bring him in. Because I think that, just like I said, it's an automatic culture shift. He's a proven great head coach, man, and he's a proven winner. And like I said, he's a guy that's not going to come in and be that head coach that wants to be, I want to have his hands all into the offense, have his hands all into the defense. He's going to coach the team. He's going to manage the entire team, just as in totality. And he's going to run it. And he, as you can see, knows how to run it.
Well, Stefanski did say in his interview that he wants to be a CEO. So I don't know if that changes anything, but the one thing I will say is like Nomad said, he looked tired here, right? You're gonna be look at Pete Carroll. Like, if the Giants were coming in and they couldn't get over the hump, or they were 8-9, like whether Raheem Morris, and you knew that some injuries derailed them or something like that, I understand bringing Harbaugh. You got to ask Harbaugh, why would he want to come here and rebuild a team from scratch? Because when you're rebuilding a team, we can easily say all the things that you said, oh, this team gets credibility and all this stuff, right? But they got to go out and play. And when we find out that our talent is not as good, it doesn't matter what CEO coach you have. If you're not getting to the playoffs, it becomes useless, right? And what I like about Harbaugh would be is he would build the team up. But let's say I would want Harbaugh to come in here with, and it's not gonna happen, but let's say Harbaugh came in here, I'd want his assistant head coach to be Raheem Morris or a Gannon. Why? Because those guys had head coaching experience. If we do have success here and John Harbaugh retires, guess what? I'm retiring knowing that my succession plan's already in the building. I don't need to go and find another coach when he decides to retire. If you're going to do that, I would rather have you bring in a guy like, for example, if you tell John Harbaugh, which you're probably not going to tell him much, but let's say that the age thing is a factor, and you say, hey, John, who are you going to bring in for defensive coordinator? He goes, Zach. Or I say, you know what, maybe bring in Raheem Morris, right? Maybe bring in a Gannon, right? Maybe bring in a guy, I wouldn't say like Eberflus, but a guy that's out there that might be a defensive guy that if you were to leave, he could then step into that role, right? Because like a Vance Joseph, right? I'm not saying you can bring in Vance Joseph, but Vance Joseph is a guy who's a good defensive coordinator right now who should get a shot at a second head coaching job. If I were to bring him in, right, let's hope that he does well. This has got to be a Sean Payton type of deal. You know what I mean? Like where you're coming in and instantly making him good, us good. But I don't think that Denver was further along in their building process than we were. I don't think we have the same horses like that. So it does make you wonder. Plus, again, what kind of power does he want and who does he really want to work with? Because if the Giants don't want to get rid of Joe Shane, I don't care what anybody says. If I'm Harbaugh, I don't want to work with that guy regardless. Even if I lie in the interview and say I want to work with that guy, I want to work with that guy with the caveat of he's going out the door if I decide, my friend over in Harbaugh world wants to come over, guys that I've worked with before, because that's what people want to do. And if you're going to bring in Harbaugh with all the clout that he has, even more so than McCarthy, who I think would also want a little bit more of the autonomy with the players and that stuff, right? Because of what the clout that they had. If you decide, and people keep saying, oh, Joe Shane's not a factor. It's not a factor until it's a factor, right? You can say it's not a factor now, but when shit hits the fan and we're drafting booty-ass players because we still have booty-ass Joe Shane as our fucking GM, right? And he's not getting the players here that was getting there in Boston where Harbaugh had, certain guys and certain profiles that they fit. We don't have any of those guys that fit the profile right now. For example, the offensive line. They got massive guys in the offensive line, okay? They run downhill. We don't have a run downhill offensive line. We have a bunch of pass blockers, which is great, but that's not what his offense is predicated on. It's predicated on the play action. They brought in Derrick Henry. They brought in DeAndre Hopkins. They brought in Zay Flowers. They know how to build a balanced offense, but if you're not bringing if you're bringing new coordinators with this guy or guys that he hasn't worked with, there's going to be adjustment periods to that. I'd rather have just a guy in here like a Kevin Stefanski, who I already know is bringing Jim Schwartz if Jim Schwartz doesn't get hired by Cleveland, right? I already know that guy's going to come in from day one on defense, and that shit's going to be it's going to be fire. If they brought in Kevin Stefanski and Jim Schwartz, I'd be up there with you saying, we're going to have the top 10 defense. I would scream from the rafters. Unlike I normally scream from the rafters where I'm more like pump the brakes here. I know that guy's a proven commodity. With John Harbaugh, I don't want his current defensive coordinator, and if you're not bringing me Wink Martindale and you don't want to hire any of these guys that are out here that are proven D coordinators, this is where you get caught in the weeds, plus the power game and the power struggle. That's where I can see the Giants dropping the ball here. That's why I keep leaning towards Kevin Stefanski as the coach, because that guy has already been in a dysfunctional organization. That guy is not going to want the same power and power and prowess that Harbaugh brings. But his teams also play hard for him, and I would like to see him had a new spot with Dart, because when he had a quarterback, that team was competitive and went to the playoffs with Baker Mayfield and Joe Flacco, and he was competitive in that division. So it's not like he can't coach. But with Lamar Jackson on the field, this guy couldn't get over the hump, right? And people started to lose the messaging with him. So I just want to know, when I'm going in here, I'm going to invest in a 63-year-old. Where his commitments lie, how much power he wants, how long he plans on coaching, because these are factors going in. Because if in 3 or 4 years the Giants start to become, let's say they're not good next year, but then they make the playoffs the year after that, or they're fighting for the wild card, like will he be here long enough for this rebuild to actually be see-through where we're actually a contender, or is he just going to build the foundation for somebody else and keep the seat warm? If that's the case, already bringing that coach right now, like they have with Jim Nagy with Andy Reid, but Andy Reid's not stepping down. But that type of guy where you're like, all right, shit hits the fan, or Harbaugh decides to retire, at least he's hand-selected a Raheem Morris or a Jim Nagy type. I know that's not a name guys want to hear, but it's just an example of that kind of guy.
I mean, yeah, I don't know. Like, I think with this Giants thing, I don't think we're close to, so to speak, but I just think I think this football team, just when I'm looking down this schedule from this past season, I'm looking at these results from these games, I'm looking at a team that, to me, this is what it's about. It's the coaching of this football team, man. I'm looking at a team.
But is he bringing that?
I'm looking at a team that scored over 30 points in 5 games this season. A New York Giant team. Now, when's the last time we were able to say that about a New York Giant team in
They're
the
going to
season?
change the offense.
And I'm looking at, okay, you're right. That is, but hopefully for the better. Even for the better, hopefully.
That's what I'm saying. I'm like,
but
I don't mean to cut you off. What I'm saying is, like, if you're bringing if you're bringing in your offensive coordinator in here, okay, I'm fine with it. If he's coming in here sight unseen with new coordinators, I'm going to be worried about that because they're going to be unfamiliar guys. And from what I've heard, guys didn't want to work with them. They're all over the league now. All guys have left and have said, we've pulled away. So because we all want the glamour hire. We want the Tom Coughlin. We want the guy who's going to come in here, but let's make it the right guy. If Kevin Stefanski comes in here and does exactly the same thing and builds up the team and is here for 10 years longer, then that's okay. I'm not saying I don't want Harbaugh. I'm just playing the other side of the field, so to speak, and giving you what I've heard and things that concern me about what Harbaugh will bring. I agree with you 100%. He's going to bring a different attitude. Bill Carter ain't going to be sleeping in meetings, that's for sure.
No, exactly. That's exactly the point. Like things like that. I mean, I just look at this team. I mean, the Giants, the way they lost the games, that's not the games they lost this season. I mean, these are just direct coaching misses. I mean, just too many times, man. I mean, even in 8 of their losses on the season, I mean, they offensively, this team was putting up points all year long, pretty much. I mean, for the most part, pretty consistently. An ability to score like we haven't seen from this New York Giants team in years. And then defensively, it was obviously a mess, clearly throughout most of the way. But you get that right guy in here, and I know that's the thing. Like I said, the Giants are in a good position right now because they're getting to interview a lot of good candidates, and there's still so many more. And there's more other guys to talk about. Like you said, we talked about Cliff Kingsbury, who was strangely, for whatever, I'm still trying to figure out what made the Washington Commanders fire Cliff Kingsbury. But he's available out there, and he's going to definitely get a lot of head coaching opportunity looks as well. But let's say hypothetically he doesn't get hired as a head coach in any of these coaching vacancies. Let's say that doesn't happen, which is possibility with some of the candidates that are out there. What about a guy like him even being available to potentially bring in as OC for this football team? Well, you know what I mean?
That's a good idea. Right. So, for example, Raheem Morris, they didn't want to interview him. Do I necessarily think he's going to be a head coach? No. But if a guy like Stefanski can't bring in Jim Schwartz, that's a guy. Harbaugh, I'm sure Raheem Morris would want to work with him too. So, this coaching search right now, the reason why we're only talking about 2 guys, I really believe it's only 2 guys that have the job. I think Cliff Kingsbury would be good here. I do. I already told you guys weeks ago that I thought he would be a head coaching candidate. From what is being reported, again, he and Dan Quinn didn't see eye to eye. They wanted the ownership was trying to meddle in the personnel, and so if he doesn't get a head coaching gig, I agree with you. Bringing Cliff Kingsbury. That's another guy that if I'm John Harbaugh, I'm calling up today and saying, hey, man, I may need you because Todd Monken may retire or may not be able to come with me or what. You know what I mean? Like, who knows what the Ravens are going to do? Maybe the Ravens, who need a coach now, promote Todd Monken. I don't know. We'll see what happens.
I mean, but those to me are the kind of advantages you have with a guy like John Harbaugh if he was to be the guy. I mean, you just have – I think there's probably just an endless list of guys that would be honored to work under him. And the coaching staff on a coaching staff, I just feel like he's one of those guys that has gained that level of respect around this league that there'd be just guys. I mean, and like you said, top guys. I mean, hypothetically, this is all hypothetics, but obviously, could you imagine we hire John Harbaugh to be the head coach and he's able to bring in, for instance, Cliff Kingsbury as the OC and Raheem Morris, for instance, as the defensive coordinator? I mean, that already right there is just like way better than what we've seen with this New York Giants staff has been. Oh, I mean, just volumes better. So it's going to be a lot to dive into. But I'm glad we're here now, and I'm glad we get a chance to talk about it, and I'm glad we get to see it all play out. And I can't wait for it to come to a head and find out who the next head coach of the New York Giants is going to be. But let's talk about another guy right quick. Dallas defensive coordinator Eberflus losing his job as well. What do you see a future for him as? I mean, as he may get a couple of head coaching interviews. Who knows? But but he definitely will probably get rehired somewhere as a defensive coordinator somewhere maybe, or at least he'll be on somebody. He'll be on the staff if he wants to be still around in the NFL next year. What do you think for a future like? See the future for Eberflus being like?
I think he needs to go back to wherever he was prior to Chicago. He's going to be I think he's failed as a defensive assistant. Like, I don't know if it was him, if he didn't like the Cowboys, but he's going to have to go and be a linebacker coach somewhere and, eventually work his way back up because, he failed with the Cowboys. And if I'm the Cowboys, again, there's a lot of coaches out there who ever doesn't get one of these 7 jobs, I'm calling up. If Gannon doesn't get a job, if Raheem Morris doesn't get a job, guess what? We love you here in Big D, right? So for Eberflus, I think he's going to have to kind of hide because I don't know what staff is going to use him. I mean, really, literally, what are you going to tell me? You're going to tell me like a guy like Stefanski going to bring in Eberflus? How could you sell that to me? How could you sell that to me with the abysmal play that is the Cowboys? Now, you could say, arguably, that the Cowboys DBs were their issues. So there was a part of me that said, what if they brought him back one more year? But clearly, with all that's been out there and all that is out there, the Cowboys know they can make an upgrade. So I don't know where he's going to go from here. He's going to have to rely on some of his old ties and see if he can, do what Jim Nagy did, go someplace where they know him and he can run the defense correctly. Or, maybe he goes to the Colts because they need a defense. But I would put Gannon over there too. If I'm Shane Steichen, I'm calling my boy Gannon. Yo, Gannon, come in here and fix my Colts defense. So we'll see where he goes. I'm sure he'll get a job somewhere. He's not, but that's like asking me where Shane Bowen's going to go. He's going to go be at Walmart. I don't know,
I'm not, obviously can't know exactly what he's going to do. I've just kind of, thoughts on his last couple of seasons as a head coach for Chicago a couple of years ago, obviously last 24. And then this past season, two really rough years for Eberflus, man. He failed as a head coach in Chicago, losing his job mid-season. And this year, it was the Cowboys defense was an absolute mess pretty much most of the way. They had a couple of good weeks there and late in the season, but overall, just an absolute mess there. So you're right. He may have to fall back to the ranks of a positional coach, like you said, and build his way back up. But we'll see. He'll be another guy whose time will tell. Only tell with him. But now, like I said, I didn't really talk about much, like you said, as far as my feelings with Stefanski, though, is I like Stefanski a lot, man. And before the news of John Harbaugh getting fired last night, when that came in last night, that, like I said, it changed the game for me. Stefanski was a guy I was feeling pretty good about potentially getting a guy like Stefanski in here, which I still feel fine about that too. If that's the way they wanted to go, honestly, I would not be upset one way or another if he was the next coach. But it also does look good, the potential of him potentially maybe being able to bring in a Jim Schwartz as defensive coordinator, man. That would just be add to that. And the fact that, yeah, you're right. He's definitely got some years left in him only at the age of 43. So, this is right now, I'm having more fun right now these last couple of days, since the season's ended than I did all season long right now, man. I'm loving it right now. This is right now. I'm feeling good, man, because I think the Giants could potentially be really headed in the right direction, man. I don't want to get too strong with what I expect to see. Like I said, but I think we could potentially make a turnaround similar to what some of these teams did, like a Chicago did this past season. I think the Giants had that kind of potential because I think when somebody looked down what we did this year in 2025, a lot of these games were squandered, and a lot of them were because I think of just serious coaching issues, not necessarily the personnel on the field. I think this team get the right kind of coaching in here, man, and I think away they can go, man. They can be back to playing competitive football in New York and competing in the NFC East, man, for division titles and playoff spots and appearances, man. So that's just really how I feel about it. This coach has really let this team down, I think, this year. A very major disservice to this football team. I think now we have an opportunity to get some guys in here that can right that ship. And we got a good young quarterback We got a couple of, I heard no mess up in the chat earlier. You keep harping on it week in and week out on here, and I appreciate you coming through as all as like you do every week, man. I know, but you're not satisfied with the running back room, and yes, it can definitely always be upgraded for sure. But I still stand believing the guys that we do have in there, and yes, we could use that real true number one, guy, real home run hitter. But I like the role Tyrone Tracy brings, and I like what a healthy Cam Scottaboo brings as well. So, and the receiver room, obviously major upgrades needed. Like you said, a tight end that you can have a lot more faith in. Theo Johnson, got to be more. You got to be what you call it, man. Better with your hands, man. Like I said, you're a good athlete. You've shown an ability to be able to make plays, but you're just not consistent with it at all. And I would like more consistency there for sure. Because Bellinger is not a guarantee to be here. He's one of those guys like Adam was talking about. There's going to be an overhaul with this roster to some extent. Bellinger's probably, I can see him being one of those guys that's just not here next year, guys. I like the guy. When he gets his opportunities, he makes the most of it usually. But I don't think I can see him being a guy that's definitely not going to be here next year, man. So we'll see, man. But it's fun. It's going to be fun documenting this all season, man, and following the story behind the New York Giants, man. It's going to be. I'm excited for what should be some major change. We hope. Like I said, what'll piss me off is if somehow we go through all these interviews and I hear an announcement to come out and say the New York Giants are retaining Mike Kafka as their head coach. That would piss me the fuck off. That would piss me off.
Yes,
so,
I agree. So that's I mean, you go through this process with all these damn coaches, and you land on Mike Kafka.
Yeah, that would be just. So that would be crazy to me. So that other than that, that's like the only thing right now that can bring me down. I'm on a little bit of a high right now. I'm like I said, I'm enjoying being a Giants fan again. Right now, I've just over the last couple of days, I've got that enjoyment back, that vigor back, because I feel like we're on to some greener pastures finally, man. This year, as bad as it was, I saw enough things this year that I feel like get the right coaches in here, we're on the greener pastures, man. We got to get it right, man. You got to figure out the guys that don't need to be here and get rid of them, man. Like I said, Jalen Hyatt, see you later, bro. My foot is still all the way up in your ass right now. I hope it's out while you on the way out the door, bro. Get gone. We don't need you no more. We don't need that. We don't need that shit even here in the springtime. Evan Neal, see you later. Bye-bye, bro. Sorry, wasted a first round pick on you, but you're bye-bye. Like clean all this bullshit up, man, and get it right. And I think I am right though, no mess. I believe I'm right because I just feel like look, the proof is in the pudding, man. This year is back. I said the record it shows a 3-14 team, and I get it. I mean, or whatever, 4, whatever. How many games? I don't even remember how many games we won. 4-13 team. But come on, man. Look at the results in some of these games, man. These games that should have been won. Like I said, to me, this is the most important step of this offseason is getting this coaching hire right and getting the right guy in here, man. And it's going to make an impact on this football team, man. And we got, like I said, we got a couple of good ones lined up already. Like I said, just the beginning. Can you believe this is only the beginning of this coaching search? And we already got interviews lined up with Stefanski, McCarthy, and Harbaugh? Come on. Man, this is right now. We're doing great right now, man. I mean, a replacement for him, I don't know. I'm not as down on him either, man. I think I still think he still is a tackling. He still is a tackler, man. He still gets out there and makes the plays on the field. I'm not as down on him. I think we got bigger fish to fry than that. I'm more interested in seeing how Micah McFadden comes back into the lineup, man. But and how he's able to come back next year, or if he's even part of the future plans for whoever the new coach is either. These are all questions that I'm gonna love to see when they get answered, man, and find out. But I'm okay with Bobby Okereke. I think some of his issues too is also just overcompensating because once Michael McFadden went down, who else was there? There was who else was there for him to believe in and rely on next to him back there at linebacker? I mean, Darius Musa? Come on, man. I mean, come on. And then the other jokers we were bringing in from out the fucking from wherever the hell they were getting them from the grocery store and shit, like from going to fucking Costco's. Oh, we need a linebacker this week. Come suit up. Like that's how it got like that, man. So look, let the coaches, whoever new coach comes in, he'll make the choices he needs to make, what he finds best, whatever. If Bobby okay ain't one of them, then so be it. You know, I'm not gonna lose sleep over that. But I think we got bigger fish to fry, or bigger fish to worry about on this team than a guy that has at least been productive and is still amongst the league leaders in tackles on this defense. I mean, he's clearly as bad as that run defense was. Because imagine how much worse it would have been if he wasn't out there. It would have been even worse. So I mean, you just gotta look at things like that too. The glass half full. Unfortunately, that's how we are as Giant fans. Have them look at the glass half full because we don't have much else to go on. But get ready to wrap things up, I suppose, man. And you got any final thoughts, Adam?
Not really. I mean, we just got to let this thing play out and see if they pick the right guy or if Harbaugh, after talking to them, wants them, right? We all think that it's a done deal until it's not. Until the ink is dry, you know, I will believe that their first choice that they brought in is one of the choices that they want, and that's Kevin Stefanski. And the one thing that people haven't talked about with Harbaugh, that they've talked about with Kevin Stefanski, they only asked Harbaugh if he's a franchise quarterback. But they haven't told me how he will develop the franchise quarterback. And that's something that you got to think about when you're drafting a guy, when you're bringing a guy like Harbaugh in. With Stefanski, you know that he's worked with quarterbacks, that he's got some type of history making with the quarterbacks that he's dealt with, as opposed to, you know, John Harbaugh. Now, John Harbaugh couldn't get it done with Cooper Rush. He had to bring in Tyler Huntley back, right? So you really got to figure out what's the best interest and really do a thorough search and land on the best guy. May that best guy not be Mike Kafka, but if you decide to pass on Harbaugh or Harbaugh passes on them, then bring in Stefanski or Kingsbury or a guy with experience. That's all I'm asking.
I agree. Now, as far as this real quick, what do we need to do at the cornerback position? We need to do a lot at that position. But one thing I hope we can do is find out a way to retain Cordell Flott, man. I would love to bring him back, but I don't know if he might have drove his price up a little too high. As you were talking about with Wandale, I think you could say that same thing about a Cordell Flott. He might have played himself up to a little more than what the Giants can afford to pay him now, just going into this offseason. So I think that would be a guy. He's like the only guy, only out of our corners. He's the only one that to me played up to it, that he is worthy of a Giant uniform next year, as far as I'm concerned. The rest of those guys, they can all peace out. We need to start over at that position. It was bad. It was just terrible all season. Guys just wide open all over the fucking place, and I can't watch another year like that. So, man, hopefully they can find a way to retain Cordell Flott, who really has stepped up this year, was by far our best cornerback. But I just don't know, man. He might have got a little too expensive with his play on the field this year. So we'll see. But that's all I got this week. And that's all we got for the show, man, I guess. So we will be back next Wednesday for sure, talking about that Philadelphia Eagle wild card matchup on Sunday, seeing if they can keep the show alive for another week. And we'll be back talking about more New York Giant news, more coaching news.
And obviously, if somebody gets hired, we will have a show that week to go over what our thoughts will be. You know, even if it's during a week where an NFC team is not playing, we will get you that breaking news in that show. Obviously, like we said, we always stop regardless of how long the team goes. We usually stop with the last team. But if, let's say, the Eagles lose, but the Giants hire somebody, we will bring that. We will come together, Mac and I, and figure out a way to bring a show to talk about that, because obviously that's going to be big news for us.
Absolutely. And we can I don't know about the kicker. Ben Saul's left-footed kicker guy. I don't know.
He'll be here next year. He'll get a shot.
He may. I mean, he'll get an opportunity. I guess he'll get a chance to try out. But like I said, you got to bring options in, man. Even at the kicker position, you got to bring options in. Just don't bring in Judah McIntyre. Don't bring that guy back in. Forget about him. Okay, leave him wherever the hell he's at. But for sure, I mean, yeah, it's gonna be fun, man, and definitely we'll definitely be here with all the anything breaking in, coach hirings, absolutely, man, because we're gonna be on it, man. Definitely. I don't know if we can't afford to use a draft kick on a kicker, I don't think, but you don't need to. You can bring some guys in. They're kickers. There'll be plenty of them available. But because at this point we're limited with the draft picks as of right now. I don't want to be using any of them on a kicker. That's just the way I feel about it right now. There's look, if there's some kind of like dynamic guy still left out there in the 7th round, and he's maybe that's something to consider, I suppose. But right now, I'm not thinking about using a draft pick on a kicker right now. We have so much other stuff we'll use those picks on when you can get a kicker just through undrafted free agent, whatever. You know what I mean? Throughout whatever process. That's how I feel about that. Not disrespect the kickers out there in the world, but it's just a reality that we just got more important things to worry about with our draft picks. I feel like investing with our draft capital than kickers right now. That's just how I feel about that. Unless you just got that, like, absolute can't miss kicking prospect, and he's still on the board in the 7th round. Maybe you want to use your 7th round pick on him. All right, maybe. I consider that. I get it. And some people do it, and it's legitimate. And some people do it, and it just blows up in their face. So they're kickers, man. A lot of the best kickers in this league weren't drafted. I know this guy with this kid with Jags you're right. He's the truth. But a lot of the best kickers in this league were not draft picks were not used on them. So it just is what it is. That's just how I feel about that. And what else was I getting ready to say? I thought I was getting ready to say. Oh yeah, I wanted to ask you one more thing before we roll out, Adam. It's not really NFC East related. This is about to play our wildcard weekend. Any matchups intrigue you this week? There's one that jumped on the table page at me. I think it's gonna be the best matchup of the weekend. I want to. If you like,
I'm looking to see the Texans game. I want to see that matchup, how they match up against Pittsburgh, because I think they're sneaky. I think their defense is very good, that can get them to the Super Bowl. With that defense. So that would be one team that I'm looking for. The other one that intrigues me is Carolina is interesting. Like, are they good? Are the Rams going to go there and choke? Because remember, they beat the Rams last time, right? So they're not afraid of playing the Rams. So that's where those are two that intrigue me. I know those are off the book, but that's kind of where I'm at. But I'm excited that they start this weekend. That's for sure.
Absolutely. Well, yeah. For me, the one game to me that really jumps out that I'm looking forward to watching is seeing. I think it'll be the best matchup of the weekend is that Buffalo Jacksonville game, man. I think that's going to be a great one down in Jacksonville. Jacksonville coming off a tremendous season, man, and Trevor Lawrence. Really, the light bulb kind of really came all the way on for Trevor Lawrence this season, man, having probably the best year of his career. And I want to look forward to that matchup, him and Josh Allen going head to head.
I thought they were playing. Are they playing the Patriots?
You said what?
They're not playing the Patriots.
The Patriots are playing. What you call it?
Oh, the Chargers. That's the
Chargers. Yeah. Yeah, Jacksonville and Buffalo, man. I think that's going to be a great matchup. So that's why I'm looking forward to that game. Can't remember if they play Saturday or Sunday, but either way, I'm gonna be tuned into that one. And that's all I got for y'all this week, man. No Mets, no Nets, no Jets. Appreciate you as always, man. In the comments, blowing the comments up and the chat up, man. Keeping the chat alive, man. Always here, dedicated with me and Adam every Wednesday, man. Definitely appreciate your support, brother. And Luvid coming in earlier, man. Always appreciate you popping in, man. My guy Zion popped in today, man. Definitely Philly Mike OG, man. Happy New Year's to all you guys, man. We definitely appreciate y'all support, man. Andrew, you as well, my brother. We appreciate you, man, coming through, checking us out for this past hour and 45 minutes. And like I said, make sure y'all go to Adam's channel at Adam Costas, man, and make sure y'all hit that subscribe button. Hit the like for the stream, man. Keep supporting this channel, man, helping it grow. Do the same thing at my channel. Hit that subscribe and like. Continue to make it grow, man. Like I said, the off-season content is uploading as we speak, man. It's going to be coming out this off-season, man. A lot to talk about, a lot to dive into. We haven't even got to the free agency period yet, and it's already livening it up in here, man. So it's getting ready to be popping, man. I'm at the Giants fan, and man, go to the Hardcore Sports Network and make sure you hit that subscribe button as well. Hit that like, man, on that stream as well. Appreciate y'all supporting the Hardcore Sports Network too, man. We'll be back next Wednesday, same time, 5:30 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. Hopefully with some more coaching news and some more interviews, information, more whatever, you know what I mean? We'll find out. Might be some more available coaching, some more viable coaching candidates available when we do this show next week. We're going to find all that out, man. Wildcard weekend is up. Once that ends, there's going to be some opening door for some more guys, man. So we'll be talking about it, man. And we will be back next week at 5:30 p.m. Eastern Time for another edition of The Real Deal NFC East Round Up Packs.
I'd like to thank you all for listening. If you was feeling this, please take time to subscribe and smack them likes. Feel free to drop a comment and let me know what you think. Don't forget to ring that bell so you know when I'm dropping new content. It's your boy, Mac the Giants Fan. You can find me on Twitter, YouTube, and Facebook at Mac the Giants Fan. That's MacDa Giants Fan.